What's up? I'm Jillian.
What's good? I'm Church, and today we have empowerment coach, author, and host of Raw Success Podcast, True.
Yeah,
Hey, True. So how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on, showing us love, support. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Okay, so let's get it started.
No doubt.
So you have a podcast called Raw Success. So how is that going for you?
It's doing excellent. The podcast to me is an extension of my purpose. And the interesting thing is that it's actually not my first podcast. It's my second podcast. I had a podcast called Food for Thought. And due to life circumstances, I had to unfortunately let that go. And then I found myself falling into a state of depression in life. And so I decided to relaunch because I realized that at the time when I became depressed, all I was doing was working. So I was making money and the money situation was getting better, which is why I had to leave the podcast in the first time because of the money situation. But I wasn't really doing nothing that was connected to my purpose, nothing fulfilling.
Yeah.
So that's when I came up with the idea of doing the podcast again. Because at heart, I'm a community activist, and that's really what I want to do. I want to empower people. And so for me, the podcast is just an extension of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is your purpose?
I believe that my purpose is to empower others and also to bring inspiration to people. And it first starts off with me empowering myself and inspiring myself. I went through a lot of things in life, especially at a young age. And so my transformation is an example of hope and what can happen when you work on yourself. And so I believe that I survived the things that I survived and went through the things that I went through to be an example of that. That if you work hard on yourself, you can transform yourself. Now, don't get it twisted, right? My life isn't isn't perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And I have a lot more growing to do. But if you look at where I come from and where I am today, you'll definitely see a huge difference. So I believe that that's what my purpose is about. It's about empowering others. Yeah.
So how would you describe your support system when you first started your podcast?
Well, first and foremost, I'm thankful for my family, specifically my wife, because if it wasn't for their patience and understanding, because, I do a lot of things in life. I'm working overtime, I'm working out, I'm part of different organizations. So I have a lot going on in my life. And so the thing is that I learned at a very young age that communication is the bridge between knowing and understanding. And so there's a lot of communicating going on. And my children, they're very aware of what my purpose is. They know about my life. I'm pretty like an open book, maybe sometimes even too much. And so my support system first starts off with family. And then I would say with people who believe in me. I have friends. We actually have friends in the room right now. These are people who believe in me, who believe in the mission, in the purpose. And like the ones in the room right now, they were actually there when I was in the streets prior to my transformation. So they got to bear witness, the growth for themselves. As a matter of fact, Culture, who's one of my photographers, him and I, when we first met, we got locked up. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a stolen car. He was in a stolen car with me. He actually went to the county because he's a year or two older than me, and we were still juveniles. So, I want to say that it's family, definitely friends. I always say this. I'll never say I'm self-made because it would be a lie.
A lie.
I've had people that poured into me. I've had people that invested in me, people that supported me with actions, with money. I mean, all types of things. So, yeah, so to answer your question, my support system is the reason why I am the person that I am today. Indeed. Yeah, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to everybody who's been in my life. Yeah.
Is there one specific situation that made you change your life around, like that aha moment?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot.
Really?
Funny, and it's tough to pinpoint like
Just
a
one.
one event, but if I can say, if I have to choose one, I would have to say the birth of my daughter, Lanisha.
Mm.
You know, she's my oldest child. She's an adult now. But when she was born, she represented love that I didn't really have for myself. But my love for her inspired me to want to make a change. And it wasn't an overnight process by no means. You know, it wasn't like she was born and the next day I'm changed man. But it planted the seed in me that I gotta become better. I gotta do better. So if I could pinpoint anything, if I gotta choose one, it would probably say, you know, the birth of my daughter. Also the day I got knowledge of self. I mean, but you know, you asked for one, so I'm gonna say the birth of my daughter, Lanisha. She's actually the one that wrote the back of my
of
book.
your book?
Yeah, indeed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, indeed.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Earlier, you said that you was going through depression and you stopped doing the first podcast.
Yeah.
Was you depressed before your daughter was born? That what made you change your life around? That's what made you got out of that hole?
No, I wasn't actually before she was born. Nah, I was just heavy into the streets and living a life of crime and just, you know, getting drunk and high and just really just wild in terms of that. Like back then, if you would have asked me, do I love myself? I would have said, of course. What kind of question is that? But now having a bird's eye view and really understanding what self-love is, I have to be honest and say like, yo, I didn't really love myself. You know, because anyone who would live like that, you know, living reckless, you know, that's not how you show love for yourself. Yeah, so I would say, nah, I wasn't depressed back then.
No? So it was just like after going through stuff?
Yeah, well,
I'm figuring she's an adult now, so you had her when you was young.
Yeah, I had her when I was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, too young. Listen, all my young people out there, do not have children at a young age, because this is the thing. Right now, you think you know what it is to be whatever. You think you know it all. You think you got it figured out. I'm telling you, give yourself time and room to grow. So, however, right, I say that, but sometimes I wonder if I didn't have a child at a young age, where would I be?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, also. So it's one of those things that's like it's a double-edged sword for me at least. Yeah.
Well, I have a question about the podcast situation still. So what advice will you give the upcoming podcasters, like the people that's coming up that's doing this?
That's a great question. You know, so we're, relatively speaking, we're still a young channel ourselves, right? But if I can give any advice to anyone, I would say align yourself with what's meaningful to you, because it takes time, right? That's another thing too. Like, why are you doing this? You know, the power of why. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people do things because it's trendy, or maybe they do things because of money. I'm not judging, but understand that with this game here, this podcast game, especially now where it's like oversaturated, right?
Yeah.
But don't let that stop you. The fact that it's oversaturated, don't let that stop you. Just know that you gotta put in work and you gotta put in time.
Yeah.
So let it be meaningful to you, you know, because it's gonna take a lot of work and time. That's what I would say. And for me, my life, that's just how I live my life. I live my life very intentional. You know, I've experienced death at a very young age. And so, and I too, you know, became close to, you know, death. You know, speaking of culture's here. I remember one time we were racing on Route 3 and we almost crashed. I was drunk as hell. We almost crashed into a truck, and culture was on the passenger side. And I remember we got into the accident and I saw him under the truck and I was like, oh snap, I'm about to kill my friend. And so I decided to just crash into the side thing. What's that called?
Divider.
Yeah, the divider. Because it was either him under the truck or
The
hit
divider.
the divider. So I was like, damn. You know what I mean? And so, going through those types of experiences, like it just taught me like life is precious, time is precious, and so I really strive to live an intentional life. Like people talk about they're bored, and I'm like, man, you have the luxury of being bored. I haven't been bored since like I was 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish I had the luxury of being bored. But yeah. So for me, I'm always talk about intentionality and aligning yourself with purpose and whatnot with everything you do. Like I mentioned before, the podcast is an extension of purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not doing it because I don't have nothing better else to do. I'm doing it because I believe it's my obligation as a man to do something purposeful. And so for me, it's the power of the spoken word and writing.
Talking about the word. So you're a motivated speaker, correct?
Yeah.
So you speak for the youth, right? To the youth.
Yes.
Do they soak the word in? Do you think they soak the word in?
Yeah. Yes. Great question. So I'm going to tell you not based on what I think, but the feedback that I get. The last school that I spoke to was YMLA, Young Men's Leadership Academy in Patterson. The principal there, his name is Mr. Medley. Amazing man doing great work. According to him, and he's actually on my podcast saying this. So he said that the children still talk about me to this day. He said that the children resonated with my message more than some professional athletes that came in to speak to them. So to answer your question, because I would never answer a question like that based on what I think, the real world feedback that I'm getting is that yes, that young men, young youth are resonating with the message.
That's good. Yeah.
Do you think it's because you're from where they're from, or
Yeah, I think that that's yeah, I think that there's a sense of relatability that exists. I think that they sense the authenticity and the passion, and the truth is that like I truly care. So when I'm in there, I'm looking at my nieces and nephews. I mean, that was all male school. I'm looking at my nephews like that's truly how I feel. I feel like it's my obligation. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a man of the people, and I do this for the people, essentially. I would love to get paid to do it. Why? So I could do more purpose work.
Exactly.
So that for me, that's what the money is really, because I truly feel that this is why I survived. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm special or anything like that. But the truth is, like, man, there's so many things that I've escaped. And so this is my way of paying it forward. I feel like I'm obligated to. Like, seriously, it feels like an obligation.
Now, the reason why I ask, because the generation now, the kids don't listen to none of us. Like, you give them the speech to word, and they want go one ear, one to another. They don't want to listen to nothing. So that's why I ask. Because I have, like, kids that age, and I go, hey, you don't listen to nothing.
Yeah.
So.
I used to have my own youth program. It was called Liberation School. And I think that men, so I can only speak for a men's perspective, you have to be stern, but they also have to feel like you truly care. So it's like me, I'm a mixture of both. Like, and I think that they know that. So, and I'm not saying the people you're talking about, but that they don't care. I'm not saying those things. I'm just saying that it's an important ingredient whenever you're dealing with the youth. They gotta know that you really care. And some of them will test you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, right, I'm an empowerment coach. And so I've had parents, attempt to hire me, right? And so I tell them, like, listen, you're gonna pay me for a while, and all I'm gonna be doing is hanging out with your son. Like, maybe play some chess, talking, because they're not gonna let me in. If we don't have a connection, they're not gonna let me in. Like, for me to come, yo, you need to do better in school and stay off the streets. Well, who am I?
Yeah.
So that's another important ingredient. Like, they gotta feel connected, whether it's your own personal children, and children too, they're funny. Like, see, everybody knows me as this empowerment coach and speaker, but to my own children, I'm just dad. My own children don't be listening to me. You know what I'm saying? They do. I don't want to sound extreme, because they're gonna watch this. But the truth is, like, a lot of times too, your own children don't really listen to you.
To you.
Yeah. And that's why the community And what we say, the village is so important. Because this is the thing. You may not listen to me, but maybe you'll listen to culture. Like I'm not into sports. Coach is into sports. My son is into sports. So just by the mere fact that coach is into sports, my son will probably listen to culture.
Yeah.
Because they can talk about basketball and boxing and stuff like that. And so the village is important because, okay, culture thinks like me. I think like him. So either way, my son is going to get the message.
Yeah,
and so this is why community is important, the village is important, and making sure that you're, you mentioned the support and everything like that, is making sure that you're aligning yourself with people who are on the same vibration. Very important.
Yeah. And tell us about that, how I judge.
When you see like a kid like in a negative space, like what do you tell them? Like what do you try to like get into their head to get them out of that negative space?
That's a great question. I see someone, a child, a kid,
particular, like or a young adult,
a young man,
in
a negative space.
I feel like nowadays, like the youth now, I think that they're more scared. Like when they go through depression, a lot of men won't admit that they are depressed or they're going through depression. They won't. But if you could see it. Like, what do you do or what do you say to try to get them out there, try to get them in a better spot?
I would say the first thing. This actually happened. I spoke at an event yesterday in Irvington, and a young man started crying. He was, and whatnot. And the first thing that I did was I gave him a hug. A lot of these young men, they just need masculine love. That's number one, right? I think also, maybe before we even get to that, is listening. You know what I'm saying? Like truly listening, and listening is an art. And so I think that that's probably where I would start, is listening, right? And then just being a space for him at the time. Like sometimes it's not a time to teach.
Yeah.
It's not a time to motivate. Sometimes my role is just to shut my mouth and just listen and be a space for you to release whatever's happening or whatever is inside of you. There's power in just releasing. As a man, how much I cry? Like seriously, I cry a lot. I was just crying maybe 2-3 days ago. I was talking to a psychologist named Dr. Afia. Shout out Dr. Afia. She was giving me some tips on some things. And so, crying is a form of release. When I go exercise, or when you see me running or doing my push-ups or doing a cold plunge, there's a release. And so a lot of times when you look at, it's hypertension, it's tension, it's built up. And so the body holds pain, and then it responds with dis-ease. And so, I think a lot of times we just need to release. And so to answer your question, I would see what type of love that person needs. And sometimes the love just starts with just listening. Yeah, just listening.
Because sometimes you have a friend going through stuff, and just by you just being there,
right,
it just helps out. Like you go to your friend's house going through something.
That's right.
Just your presence alone.
Yeah.
Will help them.
So indeed. Something my wife would appreciate me saying is she always reminds me, presence matters. Because sometimes, so I didn't grow up with my dad in my life, and so sometimes I forget that me just being home, even though I'm not, because I'll be like, I'm not needed right here. I'm not needed in this space. And she'll tell me, bro, you just being in this space is important. You just being here, because my thing is like everything has to be purposeful.
Yeah.
I gotta always be active. Gotta be always doing something. It has to be meaningful. So she's like, bro, presence is meaningful. And so you're absolutely right. Sometimes just the presence alone is enough. Indeed.
Because you feel like you always have to do something purposeful. Do you ever pause?
Yeah.
Feel like that you need that.
Yeah. I will go crazy. I meditate every day.
I've seen that in the book.
At
least 10 minutes.
Yeah. So at least 5, but 10 minutes is always the goal. But I meditate every day in the morning and at night, sometimes during the middle of the day too. So I definitely. So I have knowledge of self, and when people think of knowledge of self, they think of just like knowing the origins of your ancestors, but also there's a knowledge of your individual self. And so I know what True needs to get himself aligned back into a positive vibration. And I always tell people, like, the community, the world should be happy that I discovered fitness, because if not, this aggression that I have would be used in a negative way. And so, like, you know, and also I'm a 45-year-old man, right? So I had a lot of time to study myself, to see what works, what doesn't work. And I've also been open-minded to try a lot of different things. You know what I mean? So to the outside world, I might have even looked confused. Drew doing this, now he's doing that, now he's eating like this, now he believes in that. But they don't even know I'm in school. This is my life. And I've read over 400 books, but the most important book you'll ever read is your life. Indeed. So I've discovered some ways and methodologies that work for me to bring me down. Like, I also know who to call. For what? Situation. When I'm in a certain place, right? Yeah, and I think a very key thing is that I don't have no yes men around me. That's crucial. I have men around me and women that'll call me out. And I think that's important.
That's important. We stay talking about that, though. People call out people for their actions.
That's right.
She stays saying that.
I always tell a story. My man Ty, salute Ty, is one of my very good brothers. At one time when I was acting negative and I wasn't, you know, he called me out. He's like, bro, you living hypocritical right now. You know what I'm saying? According to all what you stand for and all that stuff you talk about, you acting very hypocritical right now, bro. And of course he did it with love. Of course he did it in a respectful way, right? He didn't call me out. It was a one-on-one conversation. So all of that is the answer to your question. You know what I mean? I've surrounded myself. I've created a world of, initially, like, personal development and peace. You know what I mean? So I learned at a young age when I joined the nation that peace is the highest form of love. You know what I mean? So I come with peace, but I always say I'm ready for war at the same time, though. You know what I mean? Because war is also, you know, protecting yourself, protecting your family is also an act of love.
Growing up in Patterson, 10th Avenue, 22nd, you said?
23rd.
23rd, okay. So was that hard growing up in a block that, because you're Hispanic,
Dominican,
but you was growing up in a block that's African American, so how was that?
Yeah. So interesting enough, 10th Ave is very diverse, believe it or not. But how was it for me is my experience of life is like what people would probably call African American. It's not like a Latino or nothing like that. When the world sees me, unless I tell them, or unless I speak Spanish, you know what I mean? I just look like an average black person. And so another thing for me to answer that, I got to tell you when I was living in California, right? So when I was living in California, the only Spanish-speaking people that was around was Mexicans. Mm-hmm. And at the time, and this is no jab at Mexicans, but at the times, Mexicans don't mess with no other Latinos but themselves. You know what I'm saying? I remember I was like, oh, y'all español también, ¿y qué? It was like, yo, bro, like, nah, you ain't one of us. You know what I'm saying? So I learned real quick over there, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a black man. And I always say, because I got knowledge of self, I have knowledge of my history. Before I was Dominican, I was an African. And so coming with that understanding, for me, there's no, like, divide. You know what I mean? But the way the world responds to me is like a quote unquote African American. So for me, it's all love. I see all of us as one people. Like there really is no divide or anything like that. And then I'm born and raised. I was born in New York and raised in Jersey.
No, but it don't be coming from you. It be coming from the outside. You feel me? From them. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked that question, because when I was young, I had that power.
It's always been love. Always like, yeah, nothing but love. Real talk, yeah. Mm-hmm. Shout out to 10th Ave. Word.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. What's one misconception people have about you?
That I'm a very serious man. And I am a very serious man, but I think people don't know that I also joke a lot. And I'm into like funny things. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I am a serious man, yes, but I'm also someone who loves to have fun and enjoy life and whatnot. So I think it's that. I like to joke around. I mean, and my family knows that. You know, I be in the house joking. You know what I mean? So I would probably say that. Yeah.
So do you call yourself like close to other people, like instead of, your circle that you have, like
Yeah.
other like new people, you really like close minded to them, or let them in, or you?
I'm a
open?
huge extrovert.
Yeah.
I'm probably too open. I have this theory. So people were like, I remember I always say this. Drake has a song. There's no shot at him, but he has a song called "No New Friends."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. No way. Because
For real.
my life is so rich. Like my life is very rich and diverse. And also like I have so many goals and plans. I need new friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I love the friends that I have, but the truth is that I need to meet new people.
New people.
Yeah, to get where I want to go. And I want to be of value to whoever I come across, right? So whatever people I'm meeting, I want to bring value to them too. So no, I'm actually very open. And I would say like even when I was in the streets, I survived the streets because of people. You know what I'm saying? Like people would be, because I can probably be naive at times, very trusting, and always coming with an open heart.
That's my problem.
And so the good thing is that I have some goons, some gangsters who love me and who would keep an eye out for me and be like, nah, true, that dude is bad, right? Like, nah, he ain't the one. And you know what I mean? So now I'm definitely open.
Yeah.
I'm what's considered an extrovert.
Yeah.
Friendly and open.
That's the Leo.
Yeah, I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah, we
fire
are.
sign.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
So yep.
In the last podcast, that's what I was talking about. Like, when I was younger, I'm just started getting to open up to other people because I was very
introvert.
Minded. Yeah, didn't trust no one. I didn't want no new friends. Like my
Yeah,
friends
you
are
live
my
that
friends,
cold.
and
But now,
yeah, but not like I'm just starting to like let people in.
Yeah.
I grew up, so it's just like now I know what kind of friends that I want in my life. Like I want them with value. Like I want to like.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will
But
say.
yeah, so now I'm starting to open up to more people.
Good.
And I kind of regret that I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Before,
Good.
but.
But I understand how you probably could have become like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially being a woman. I get it. I will say this though, that I know the difference between, like, I have a special affinity for certain people that's been there. So it's like I don't treat everybody the same, if that makes any sense. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
of course.
yeah, like there is a small percentage of people, and I'm very aware of who they are, who've been there since day one through all my struggles, and so I do want to acknowledge that also. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But it's also, you ever met like somebody that you just met like a couple months, and then you feel like, oh, this could be my friend for life.
Yeah, I've met people the first day. I already know, I'm rocking with this person for a minute.
Yeah,
like especially like at this stage of life, because I'm very self-aware, because I do a lot of self-reflecting. I'm very self-aware, so I'm like, yeah, I can rock with this person. And I also too, like, don't get it twisted, right? I also draw the line. I have morals and principles and values that I live by, and so like I'm very aware too of like, nah, this person, I'm not rocking with this person, or depending on the person's certain lifestyle. That if I disagree, then So to answer your question, also, I am closed-minded to certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like if I don't rock with it, I don't rock with it. Yeah, yep. And that's intentional also.
Do you feel like people just like want to get in, like, I'm not like want to get in your life, want to get in your brain?
I will say that people reach out to me to hear my perspective on things.
Yeah.
And I'm honored by that, for real. Like I take that as an honor that this person, wants to reach out to me and hear my perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm like, I feel honored about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I have a question. So how do you feel when your background was closing doors for you?
Man. Sad. Regretful. Shame. Felt like I was letting my mother down. I always say my mother came from a third world country, Dominican Republic, to live a better life. She has only one son, and here I go, you know what I'm saying, wilding out. You know what I mean? And so, but at the time when those doors appeared to be closed, and some of them were closed, appearing were closed, it was just like sad and regretful. But at the same time, like I understood, like, yo, that was me. My book is called The Power of Choice. I made certain choices. My mother raised me right. You know what I'm saying? And I chose to do other. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I had nobody to blame but myself also. But it was, I would say if I could narrow it down, it's sad.
Sad.
Yeah, that's
Stressful.
Especially when I transform my life and I'm still being penalized because of choices I made at an ignorant state or at a young state. And so, but yeah, good, great question.
You got in trouble by the law, correct? Right?
Yeah.
So, was your family very supportive of you when you was in trouble? Like when you was locked up and stuff like that?
So I never been to prison, thankfully. The most time I did was a few days in central booking. Was my family supportive? So at the time it was just my mother and my ex when I was living that lifestyle. And I would say they was very supportive in their own way. And even the tough love that my mom was giving me, like for example, not picking up the phone when I would get arrested. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like I remember I tell this story. When I called, I forgot what charge. It might have been the charge I called in 2003, I think it was. And so I was in a complex. And so when you get locked up in a complex, you got to see the judge the next day. And so I remember being shackled, wrist to ankles, and coming out and seeing my mother. I still remember to this day. It haunts me. It haunts me, yo. Like seeing her face. Like right now, I'm there. I can see her right now, and seeing her face. Her hair all messed up. Her eyes. She looked stressed out. You know what I mean? And just seeing her face, and I remember just like being shackled and just looking at her like, damn, what am I doing? My ex, next to her crying. And so, yeah, my mom is my hero. You know what I'm saying? In that regard. At the time, I didn't know it though.
Of course.
It's now reflecting back. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mother and I didn't have the best relationship either. And I always say I wasn't the easiest child either, right? So, but yeah, I would say that, thankfully I had a very, very supportive mom. And even shout out to my ex, who was also supportive at the time. Yeah.
What's up?
Te van a matar ahorita.
I have a question for you. You have to be selfish for like a little bit. What makes you happy? Like,
what makes me happy?
Yeah. But you have to be like selfish with it.
Yeah. So I believe it. So this is gonna sound like oxymoronic to what I said earlier about being an extrovert. I also like spending time alone. I like spending a lot of time at the beach alone. I like spending a lot of time in nature alone. The thing is, what's funny is the things that make me happy are also therapeutic and healthy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I designed my life purposely like that. But I would say being in nature makes me happy. Yeah. If I could choose something that's selfish, just walking in nature, or walking on the beach, or sitting on the beach.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
What does the beach do to you?
Because
it does something to me, but I want to know what it does to you.
Yeah. It puts me in a meditative state instantly. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where I can just sit there for hours. I don't know what it is. I can just sit there for hours and just look at the waves. And it's been proven scientifically that the sound of the waves is healthy for us. So it's probably doing something on a physiological level to my body that I can't express through words also. So I would say, but to answer your question, it puts me in a meditative state. Yeah. And I think it's what it probably does too, like gives me a break. You know what I mean? It gives me a
Yeah.
break from all things that I'm up to and what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And I love all the things that I'm up to and what I'm doing, but everybody needs a break.
Yeah. Because
Facts.
just me listening to you talk, I feel like you're spreading yourself out so thin.
Yo, you know what's
Like,
what's crazy? I've been hearing
it's
that for years.
Yeah. So you need that break. You need that.
Right.
You need that beach.
Right. And that's
I
why.
do too. With Vic, guess I could go.
Word. Yeah, shout out to Vic. But that's why, to your question about, that's why I said my family first. Because, you know what I mean? Because I'm spreading myself out too thin, you know. And so they're the ones who don't see me and whatnot, you know. So and I'm working on that. That's always a goal of mine, is to see how I can spend more time at home.
Is there an end goal for you?
An end goal?
Yeah.
You know, Queen, even if I told you, it'd be a lie. I came to that conclusion. It's funny you say that. I came to that conclusion that I'm just the type of person that no matter what I do, I'm going to look for something else to do.
Okay.
No matter what I conquer, I'm going to look for the
Something
next
else to do.
thing to conquer. So if I ain't got nothing else to do, all right, now it's time to get my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's also too, there's just so much that I want to do. I feel like this urgency with time. I feel like I need another life, maybe 3, to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? And these are like for real. These ain't like, I hope to, like that's part of what makes me cry.
Yeah.
Because I have this inner desire, and I don't know where that desire comes from. All I know is that it exists to do so much, to accomplish so much. And so I'm just striving to figure out how. And my main message to young men is do your best. So I'm doing my best with the time that I do have. And also understanding that it may or may not work out, but I'm going to keep striving.
You hear that?
You know what I mean?
That's it.
Yeah.
Most of these men
So-
don't have that drive nowadays.
I don't, and it, to me, like, for real, I'm not saying this to sound cool. I don't even know, like, how to live without drive. You know what I mean? I think another thing too, like, some people ask me, I was born with a lot of energy. You know what I mean? I also take care of myself. Like, I'm intentional. So I also know that with taking care of yourself, like, I know because I'm doing a lot, spreading myself, I need to be my best version. I need to rest. I need to be fit. You know what I mean? I need to, like, guard my mind to make sure, right, for me to show up for you around the way. I've been honored, invited to be here. So I'm going to be my best self. And in order to do that, I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that's in me to that. And that's why, like, when I was in a negative world, when I was selling drugs, it was the same drive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I started off selling for somebody. Shout out to my man CS from the 4th, right? I was selling for him. You know what I mean? We all out the game. Yeah. So,
No, he wasn't.
but
Kidding.
but now I was striving to be like a kingpin. Like, it's just like an inner desire for more, expand. That's why when you said, like, is there ever an end goal?
Yeah.
I'm like, I think at one point in time I would have probably said yeah.
Yeah.
But now, again, right? I know myself.
Mhm.
There is no end goal.
There's so much to learn.
There's so much to learn, so much that I want to do, that the only thing that's going to stop me is death. But I'm going to keep going as long as I can.
That's what's up.
When you was in the field, right? Because I ain't gonna say you need some drugs.
Mm-hmm.
What made you, like, stop, like to the breaking point that you said, that's it, like, I had enough?
So there's a few things. One of the main things is when I realized that I had to start becoming somebody that I didn't want to be. When somebody got me for something, I'll say somebody got me for a package, and I was thinking about like causing some serious harm. I'll say it like that. And that's not who, you know, in the streets, you got to be a man, right? You got to be tough. You got to be willing to defend yourself. And you got to fight with your crew. That just comes with the code of being in the streets.
Exactly.
But I've never been a type of person that's really been about violence. I bet it was about making money and getting girls. Yeah, definitely. But, you know, the violence thing came with it, and I was with it when it came. But that's not who I am. So when I started to think, like, okay, now I gotta purposely be like this, I started to, like, really realize, like, oh, okay, I'm getting to a certain level of the game where I am now having to not not do it like how I want to do it. And so I would say that was one of the sparks. I mentioned my daughter being born, catching charges and stuff like that, and just getting knowledge of self. When I was introduced to the nation of gods and earths, the 5% nation, I'm so thankful for them, for that nation, because that resurrected my mind. You know what I mean? So that too. So it was a lot of there was a thread of things that made that possible. Yeah, and even the negative stuff, even the catching charges. Like, oh, like listen, like I have friends that's been in and out of prison all day. Like, listen, one day I'm like, yo, get me out of here. Like I knew prison is not for me because in 1 hour I'm going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So and ain't no women in there. To me, that's bugging. Like, how can you be somewhere without no women? That's wild.
Yeah, I don't understand how people stay going out of jail. Like, do you like men or something? Because you stay in and out of jail. Like, you don't want to be home. Like,
Right. So, yeah.
I want to know the feelings.
Yeah, definitely.
I did like 7 months and a half in the county.
Oh, okay. Yo, they just knocked the county down too.
Yeah.
If you seen that, it's crazy.
Yeah, they should have been knocked that down in 07 when I was in there.
Hey, you know what's crazy? I bought this house 2 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. When I was unpacking, I found the letters I used to send to her when she was in jail.
Wow.
That was when?
That was in 07.
Yeah.
I still got those letters.
I can't remember all age.
Word. Blessings.
I said shit.
I have a question for you.
Word.
If you could change one thing of mankind, what would it be?
That's an interesting question. If I could change one thing about mankind, what would it be? Damn, yo, listen, I don't get like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't, like, just get me frozen much.
Mm-hmm.
This one got me frozen right now. If I could change one thing. If I don't overthink it, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is unity.
Okay.
If I don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like thinking about certain things.
UNITY.
Yeah.
Unity.
Word. I would probably say like the unity aspect. You know what I mean? But the thing is, right, if you study the ancient world, and I'm pretty well versed in history, there was never like a utopia, unity. It never existed. So, but if I could live in a fantasy and don't overthink it, I would probably say unity.
Yeah, because I feel like that would just solve everything, right?
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, with unity, most of our problems would go away. Yeah, he was talking about primarily the Black community, but I think it applies universally.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think he said 95% to be exact. 95% of our problems would go away just with unity alone. If we just unify, 95% of our problems go away in the Black community.
Only if that was the picture of me, life would be better for everybody.
Word.
What do you think divides us in like making the hood?
In the hood?
Yeah.
I think it's funny you say that. So, and you'll always hear me say this. I think that one of the plagues in our community is the destruction of the family. If you look at any thriving community, the families are intact. You know what I mean? And so, and if you study war, and if you study the transatlantic slave trade, right, what they did to Africans, what they did to us, the original people of the planet, one of the first strategies of war was divide and conquer. And it started in the home. Take the man away. Take the man away, you got the power gone, women and children. Don't get it twisted, there was warrior women fighting too. So I would say that one of the biggest plagues is the destruction of the family. Yeah, and then because you gotta look at it, right? What does that bring? You divide the family, you also divide the resources. You know what I'm saying? And then you also divide the responsibilities of raising children in a holistic way. You know, because, right, my father wasn't in my life like that. My father and I got a great relationship now, but it's the truth is the truth. I don't know who would I have been. I came out all right, right? But who would I have been in an intact family? We don't know, right? And I am who I am. My experiences made me the person I am. It is what it is. But I would say that's how I would answer that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like everything stems from there, from the destruction of the family. Yeah. And people got to know, the world got to know, because I think that we get viewed a certain way, like that we can't handle families. This is a new phenomenon. We, our people have always been about family. I mean, we have ancient proverbs like it takes a village to raise a child, right? This is a new phenomenon. This is and I dare say an American phenomenon where you see black people not in intact homes, and you can research it. You can research it, and it was intentional. You know what I mean? The divide and conquer strategy, all of that was intentional, because you divide the family, divide the resources, then the enemy is more, now has more control of the minds of the youth. The youth are out there now looking for a family because it is our nature to be part of family. This is why we join gangs and all of that, right? So yeah, I would start with that, man. I'm always gonna start with that. Indeed. And I'm a byproduct of a dysfunctional, broken home. Yeah, so I can speak from experience of what that does.
I feel you. Me too.
And you know what's crazy too, though? I've known people who had dads in their life, let's say, right, but still said that it wasn't a optimal family because the dad wasn't, like you said, present. So its presence is active. You know what I mean? It's not just being a body there. So I'm here, but if you're not really there, engaging and interacting and things like that, so it takes something. Yeah.
You have a daughter.
I have 3 daughters and 2 boys. 2 sons.
What do you give? What advice do you give your daughters? I know you speak to a lot of young men. What advice do you give to your daughters, or any young lady? If you have to.
What advice? These are good questions, yeah. Both of y'all hitting me, man. Y'all hitting me with body shots. Damn. Damn. Without overthinking it, I've definitely taught my daughters to treat themselves like they're queens. And so what does that mean, right? That means be a woman of character, of integrity, of class, dress a certain way, speak a certain way, educate yourself. When I say educate yourself, I don't mean just like college. That's, for me, that's just for like jobs. You know what I'm saying? I think
is true.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just more so about just developing yourself. But I would say that the thing is, so I have 3 daughters, and one is 7, so she's super young. They're different, so I say different things based on their personality. But I think a universal thing that I would tell young ladies is to treat yourself like a queen, and don't be letting no bum dudes, you know what I'm saying, knock you up. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I would say just treat yourself like a queen.
Because you're gonna attract the wrong person if you don't.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely.
I have a question about your daughter. So the reason why your oldest daughter and you used to bump heads is because you was barely there, because you was in the streets?
Yeah, so I was there, but I was drunk a lot, I was high a lot, I was in the streets, but also I'm trying to be careful with my words because there's another part that plays into it. So I want to say that also there was another element that when I did strive to present my masculinity, there was another element that was going against that. I'm an open book, but sometimes when it involves other people, you know what I'm saying, I have to speak vague, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course.
But I just want to say that there was outside forces that was also going against some of the things that I was striving to instill in my daughter and things that I didn't approve of was approved of. You know what I mean? So it was challenging, but again, that goes into this whole family dynamic thing. Yeah, so we bumped heads because of that. But my daughter and I mean, you read the back of it.
Yeah,
you know?
now, yeah.
She says she considers me one of her best
Our
friends.
best friends, yeah.
And I'm so honored. Love you, baby girl. I'm so honored by that. Seriously, you know, I'm glad that we're at the place that we are now. I think it's important. Yeah, and I know I'm not perfect. Like I tell my children, just take the best parts. I always tell my children this: making mistakes is a part of life. You cannot escape that. Just please don't make the mistakes that I did. That would be stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make better mistakes. This may sound oxymoronic again. Make smarter mistakes. And so that's something else that I tell all my children. Like, yo, you're going to make mistakes. Just please don't make the ones that I did.
See, my communication with my oldest daughter, I mean, how I used to always bump heads is because the way I used to talk to her. I used to be cursing on her, like calling her like a little bitch or whatever. She used to get mad. She used to do it. You know, she'll get me frustrated. My favorite word used to be like, bitch. And yeah, we used to bump heads for that. She'll stop talking to me and everything. Now, me and her is like besties. I call her for everything. We spoke about the bug, like a lot of things. Yeah. First thing that we do is call each other. But before we used to bump heads a lot, because the way I used to communicate with my kids, I used to always be yelling at them, cursing. Yeah. So now I learned, like, you feel me? Like, I learned now, like, you know, if you want your kids to be there and be open with you, respect them. They want, you know.
Right.
And she used to tell me that, Mom, respect me. She was like, I'm not a little bitch. So I learned already, yeah. So, you know, but I made a lot of mistakes with my kids.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's another thing. Lanesia, she's the oldest. So Lanesia was there when I was in the streets. So I also was growing as a human. You know what I'm saying? And so I also made a lot of mistakes. I was very hard on her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, yeah. And so so thank you for reminding me of that element also, because that also played a part. Yeah, I was you know,
feel like
I'm 19.
Too much on top
I'm in the
of them,
streets.
We're not giving them space. They feel some type of way too. Like they feel suffocated.
Right.
But on your defense, Jill, I feel like you was growing up yourself. You know
yeah, because I was the streets raised me. My mom left to Miami when I was 15, and I grew up with my friends. They're my family, my friends.
So she was growing up herself too. Just throw that out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to paint her to be a bad mom, but she was young yourself, Jill.
Salute to you, Queen. Word up. Yeah. Salute, man. Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Real talk, seriously.
You know, little bitch, okay?
Let's get into this book.
You a queen.
Yeah, it's very, man. My daughter is.
So what inspired you to write this book?
Yo, you know, interesting enough, right? I'm going to answer that question. When I was in California, I was on punishment. And part of my punishment, it's like, I read a lot of books, right? Because that's all there was to do.
I'm confused. Self-punishment?
Oh, no, so my stepmom at the time, her name was Lupe, shout out to Lupe. She would put me on punishment, and part of the punishment was being in like a room, my bedroom, basically, where I lived at.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I'm bringing that up. I would read these books, and I remember when I was a child, like I still remember this. I said, one day I'm gonna write a book, right? So that's part. I wanted to bring that up to say that I manifested it as a child while I was on punishment. That one day I was gonna write a book. But why did I write this book specifically? Books saved my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, on the real, books definitely saved my life. I always say I'm an undercover, and I'm not an undercover nerd. I admit I'm a nerd. It's a part of who I am. And so I wanted to contribute to the space. You know, as a man, right? I believe that men should always contribute to the space. We should never be just taking away. And so because of the what books did for me, I wanted to pay that energy forward. And so those two things, why I wrote a book, because I always remember that I said I would. And then the other thing is I wanted to give forward, give back, contribute to the space, you know what I mean, of the world of books, and willfully maybe my book can have a positive impact on somebody like the books that I've read have had on me. So that's primarily why. And then I love writing. Yeah. And so like a lot of people ask me about my writing. Like, listen, I barely graduated out of Eastside. You know what I'm saying? Like, my wife helps me with my Instagram captions. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have like, I'm not a professional writer per se, but I have concepts and thoughts and ideas. And you pay an editor to then make it sound professional. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not an expert in grammar or nothing like that. I'm from the hood. You know what I'm saying? So, but I have a lot of concepts. I have 3 more books in my head right now.
That was gonna be my next question. Like, are you gonna write like a biography? I know this is like a
That's coming.
choice.
That's coming.
I want to
Yeah, I do have a goal for that. That's coming, and I have a title for it. I'm not gonna say because I don't want nobody to take it, but that's coming. Yeah, the biography, like dating back to like DR and all of that.
Would it be a series? Sorry for cutting you off. Would it be a series or just one?
In my mind, I'm just thinking one right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll probably just be one book, but I don't know. When I actually start getting into the mix of it, because for anybody who wants to write a book, you'll see it's once you start getting into the mix of it, it's like when, because a lot of people say, well, I don't know what to write about. I don't have nothing to say. I don't know that much. Listen, just put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, and you'll see how much you have inside you. We all have a book or books inside of us.
Motion, take notes.
Word up.
Well, I'll give you a little advice.
Please.
Childhood,
Mm-hmm.
your teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
and now.
Awesome.
3 books.
There you go.
That's exactly
If you want. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly true, bro.
Yeah.
Here, I'll tell you, because you know you can.
Yeah.
Everything ain't for everybody.
I'll be in the
But
back
we
of the
finish
book.
up
Bet.
Yeah.
Bet. Got you.
I'll be in back of the book.
There we go. You're right. You're
So I
right
have
to
a
back it
question.
up. Next one.
About your book. So why did you name it the Power of Choice?
Great question. So I named it The Power of Choice because I realized that everything that happened in my life that was positive, everything that happened in my life that was negative, in some way, somehow, there was some choices involved. Now, some things were outside of my control. Like, I was born in a dysfunctional family, right? I didn't have any control of that. But what I did have control of is how I respond to that. That was my choice, right? I always say, pain, everybody got to go through pain. Mm-hmm. Suffering is a choice. Buddhism taught me that. Suffering is a choice. And so, realizing that and also observing my environment and observing the people in my life, you know what I mean? Because I told you, my life is the most important book I've read. I realized, like, yo, it's your choices, fam. I know people that was in worse situations than me. Mother was on drugs. Like, I have a friend. His name is Maruki. So he speaks about this publicly. His mother was on drugs. May she rest in power. His father got killed when he was a child. Maruki's an amazing man. Was never in the streets. He's head of the math department. He has a beautiful family. He owns his house. You get what I'm saying? But and so I just realized, like, choice.
Choice, yeah.
It's your choice. Even with the times, like, listen, I know some of us go through things that we cannot control. Some of us been through some trauma in life. But family, you have choices. You have choices, and maybe the most important choice is how you respond to what happened to you. So that's why I named it, because I want people to really understand you're not stuck. You have choices. You got choices in life. So that's why I named it The Power of Choice. And there's power in it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
If you have to choose one chapter of your book for everyone to read, what chapter would it be?
Damn, hold up. It's been a while since I read my book. Like, pardon me, you might have to edit this part out.
And what do you want them to take away from that chapter?
It would probably be, man, it's hard. It's either the gap or you are not a tree. And so the gap, right? The gap is this concept where as soon as you decide you want to accomplish something, immediately this gap appears of a set of things you have to do, of set of principles and values you have to embrace, a person you have to become. So in life, whatever we want to manifest, a gap is about to exist. A place of discomfort is about to exist. And so I think that that's crucial because so many people want to keep themselves comfortable in what's familiar. And listen, I ain't knocking you if that's what you want to do, sure. But I'm talking to the people that want to manifest things in life, that have the drive, but they have fear too. You know, fear holds us back. And so the gap chapter, well, but also you are not a tree, which is a concept that I got from one of my favorite speakers, Jim Rohn, which is basically is like, you're not a tree. If you want to change your life, you're not a tree. You know what I'm saying? You're not a microphone. You know, you could change your life. You're not a table where you're stuck. So, and I think a lot of people really, life occurs to them in a way where that they can't make changes. And I used to be like that too. You know what I mean? Like I used to like say things, you know what I mean, about my identity that I couldn't be. You know, when and it was false. It was all false. You know what I mean? And so I would probably say either you're not a tree or the gap. One of those.
I like the gap.
Yeah, the gap is tough.
I had it folded.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
As I was reading your book, I see that manifest and owning up to your own actions is very important to you. Why?
I think number one, I'm gonna speak as a man. I think that it's masculine. Number one, for a man to own up to his actions and his responsibilities. And I also think that the victim mentality is holding us back as a people, but also as individuals. And so I think that when we acknowledge, I just actually told my little sister this, I don't think she'll mind. My little sister's going through some things with some negative people in her life, right? And I told her that I get it. I'm sorry you're going through that. But I said, but look to see what is it about you that's attracting this energy. Because one thing that I learned in NLP, LPN, is once a fluke, twice a pattern, 3 times a pattern. So if you've seen a pattern in your life, fam, maybe, just maybe, you got something to do with it. And so it's also very liberating and empowering to own up to the responsibility. That's one of the main things that I teach the youth. I have this acronym that I go by, RACS. Responsibility, action, accountability, clarity of purpose or goals, and keeping your commitments and knowledge of self. And so to me, it starts with responsibility because I feel like before you can manifest or create any long-lasting change or transformation or accomplishments, it starts with responsibility. You got to be like, yo, it's me.
It's me owning up to your own actions.
Word. Or lack of actions.
A lot of men don't do that.
Indeed, and I don't want to be one of those men. And I'm not perfect, right? Sometimes I got to get called out. My wife is great at that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know what I mean? And at the time, I don't like it, but, you know, I got to be like, all right, yeah, you're right. That was me.
Speaking of manifesting, could you tell people like, well, people manifest bad stuff without even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And could you tell people like what it is, the words, right, your actions?
Yeah. So,
because they do it like unintentionally.
Yeah. So I think that your thoughts, especially your subconscious thoughts, and the subconscious ones in particular, because they're the ones that you're not aware of. But they're present. And so until you heal certain things, you're going to keep creating those same scenarios, but they're just going to look different. And so I think your thoughts, your energy in motion, i.e. emotions, but also I think that negative things in our lives are not necessarily bad. Now listen to that. Negative things in our lives are not necessarily bad. Why do I say that? Because I think that sometimes we need negative things in our lives to expose weaknesses in us
And
that we need to work on. So like right now, right, I'm having some issues with my taxes, right? Looking into that, it revealed holes in my strategy, in my lack of organization and money management that needs to be addressed. And so I'm glad it happened now with the little bit of money I got right now. Because imagine if it happened when there's millions involved and whatnot, right?
Yeah, so you caught it early.
Indeed. So there's that, but I think that there's an aspect of healing, but also an aspect of teaching that comes with the negativity. And we're not talking about like things like, let's say rape, right? And you know what I mean? Rape like a child, like, you know what I mean? Because that's negative. I feel like trauma like that, that's a whole different conversation, right? But, I'm talking about for grown, self-aware, right-minded thinking adults. Yeah, that's what this applies to, is what I'm saying, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah! I like that. If I was a DJ, I would use
I'm a
that.
trademark that so nobody steal my shit.
Word up.
You've been saying that you haven't.
I know. That's one of the things sometimes, I stay the same. I'm going to do something I don't do. It's called being lazy. Lapping.
Procrastinating.
I'm going to hold you accountable to that now.
Now I'm going. Do you feel like your book sales was a success?
Yes. I say that because for me, the purpose is to impact people in a positive way, right? Yes, I want to make money. There's no doubt about that. We already clarified that, right? Because I want to write more books. But for me, how I measure success is impact. And so, based on feedback that I was getting, yeah, it's definitely a success.
I saw, you got like a 6-star, right?
Yeah, appreciate 5-star, whatever it is. I appreciate that. So, I would say, yeah, it was a success.
I'm happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. And there's a lot of room for more success. So if you want to purchase my book, reach out to me, True Speaks Power on Instagram, or you can go on Amazon, The Power of Choice by True Khepra, and you'll see it there.
Support is very important.
Indeed.
Last words.
Last words? Oh man, I was having fun. I'm just getting warmed up. We only get one life to live, family. And so it's imperative that you discover what's important to you and also be the best version of yourself and give that gift back to the world, because all of us have something inside of us, and it's imperative that you discover what that thing is for you, and then it's your obligation to give it to the world. You only live once, and I bring that up because I think sometimes we think like we have all the time in the world, and we don't. So whatever your desire is, and something's in your mind, something is in your heart, whatever that is, act on it now. Let's get it.
Thank you for coming.
That's an honor,
really,
pleasure.
Really appreciate you. Your book, the handle will be listed below.
Okay.
You're having merch soon, right?
Yes, I'll have some merch again. My peace hoodies.
Yes.
Shout out to Culture.
They'll be linked down below. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Always.
Appreciate it.
Shout out to Papoose who hit us up.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to her, baby. Thank you so much, Pat.
Yeah, man.
True, thank you so much for coming.
It's an honor. It really is an honor. I had a lot of fun.
You're welcome to come back whenever you want.
Next week. Nah, I had a lot of fun. I think y'all have something amazing here. I love the energy and the chemistry that you both bring. And I appreciate the fact that you are from my hood.
Exactly.
Around the way.
We're from around the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Salute.
Bye.